May all beings be happy. May all beings be healthy. May all beings be free from harm. May all beings love life. May all beings awaken. Welcome to another Cuke Audio podcast, A Brief Memory. I'm DC Puba of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, preserving the legacy of Shunryu Suzuki and those whose paths crossed his, and anything else that comes to mind. I pray that you and yours are safe and comfortable and free from economic hardship and able to get out and do whatever it is you want within the limitations of the universal precept of do as little harm as possible. So today's brief memory comes from Britt Pyland. It says here, which came in the form of a gentle correction to something I'd posted. And there's a link to what I posted. Oh, here I say, DC wrote, once Herman Ihara, a leading spokesman for Macrobiotics, came to Tassajara, and Loring and I wanted him to speak in the dining room to students. And I asked Suzuki, and he said, in Japan, we'd never do anything like that. Zen masters are jealous of their students in temples, and don't let other people speak there. But this is America, and you are all very open, and so maybe here this time it's okay. So Herman spoke. And notice it wasn't Loring, who'd been around a couple of years before me, who asked Suzuki. I had nerve. Here I had written that Suzuki didn't come only to be corrected by Britt, who wrote, I think that Suzuki Roshi did attend, or at least to the last part of the talk. I remember Suzuki Roshi coming up to Herman afterward in the courtyard outside the dining room, patting him gently on the back and saying, don't worry so much. And the summer night air of Tassajara absorbed everything. That's a nice concluding line, Britt. And the summer night air of Tassajara absorbed everything. Yeah. That's like when Jane Schneider was going on and on to him about astrology and what it meant to her. She was really heavy into it when she came. And he said, you look so serious when you talk. Yeah, he really picked up when people were hooked on something. Actually, he saw it as being enslaved by being stuck to ideas. And, you know, I'm very grateful I ran into Macrobiotics and Loring. I had lived with Loring in the city, and he turned me on to that. And I went to some macrobiotic talks with him, Herman. And Herman was second only to Mishwa Kushi, who was on the East Coast, Herman was only third to Mishwa Kushi, who was on the East Coast, who was only second to George Osawa, and who had popularized the Zen macrobiotic diet. So, you know, I really enjoyed it. To me, it was getting into vegetarianism, getting into whole grains, getting into Japanese food. And there we were living in the heart of Japantown. And I really enjoyed it. But I must say that a lot of macrobiotic people I knew were like awfully uptight about it. And like had become very rigid and thin and gaunt and intense. Not very Zen, as they say. I never called it the Zen macrobiotic diet. But I'm grateful to it. And, you know, Katrinka and I, we eat a lot of brown rice and miso and tofu and tempeh and vegetables. But we eat anything we want anytime. We don't worry about it. Okay. So this has been I want to say one other thing. I'm working on the audiobook for Crooked Cucumber, and I'm reminded there that during the war, I was just going over the war chapter. I've got it all recorded. I'm just going over it and getting it in as good shape as I can to turn it in, hopefully this month. And in the chapter on the war, I learned in my research that there was a whole brown rice movement in Japan during the war, and Suzuki, like one of his very closest friends, was like really into it, and I learned so was his master, Gyakujun Soen, that it went way back, the idea of eating whole grains and food that's not too acidic and is more alkaline. It's nothing that Osawa made up. He popularized it. And it quotes, it says there was a book that was popular that promoted it during the war in Japan, Food to Win the War By, or something like that. Anyway, so a lot of people felt like we were pushing on something on Suzuki, and I felt it. We all felt it. We had no idea that there was such a thing. I just happened to learn it in my research, and maybe that particular bit of research was, I think, gained by Fred Harriman, who had done a lot of translating for me when he went to Rinso and stayed there, and did some interviews. And my Japanese was good enough to ask questions, but not to understand all the answers. Fred's a grade A translator. Anyway, so we thought that, this was something people thought we were forcing on him, that he'd never seen brown rice or that it was all foreign to him. Well, I learned that that this sort of thing, that people being really into it, was something he'd been around in Japan and something he respected. That's why he would never turn on it. He just didn't like food trips. He made that very clear. He didn't like people getting all uptight and everything about food. And so anyway, that's what comes to mind when I think of Herman Ihara coming to Tassajara and giving that talk in Suzuki. Thanks a lot, Britt. I really appreciate it. Patting him on the back and saying, don't worry so much. Okay. This has been a Cuke Audio mini podcast, A Brief Memory. I'm DC Poobah of Cuke Audio and Cuke Archives, coming to you from Sleepy Sanur with Doggett Bandita, Feline Cuchita, and dear lovely Katrinka. And we're wishing you and yours and all of us a grand awakening.